Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Catherine and this is Raspberry Reads. I have a haul video for you today. So this is my spring haul, and these are basically books that I've acquired over the past 3 months or so. I either picked them up myself or I was gifted them. So yeah, let's just get right into it, shall we? I've got 12 books to share with you today. So the first 2 books actually, I've actually already read, and so I won't go into too much detail, but this is Kingdom of the Wicked by Kerri Maniscalco. And I talked about this book, which is a YA fantasy, romantasy, on my April wrap-up video, which I'll link up in the cards. So yeah, if you want to know more about this book, which I did enjoy, please go and check out that video after this one. Similarly, another book that I finished reading last month in April is Ruth Ozeki's The Book of Form and Emptiness, and you can learn and you can hear all about my thoughts on this book again in my April wrap-up. But this is a contemporary fiction and it focuses a lot on mental health topics. Another book on my TBR, which I've mentioned before, and I believe is one of 2 non-fiction books in this stack, is It's Not That Radical, Climate Action to Transform Our World by Mikaela Loach. So I mentioned this in my May TBR. Mikaela just published this book, and I'd really like to get to it this month. It's all about climate activism from an interdisciplinary perspective, and an intersectional perspective. Up next, we have a crime thriller that my colleague gave to me after she'd read it, and it's Elisa Jewell, and it's None of This Is True. And I don't know anything about this book, so I'll just read the blurb. It says, 2 very different women who meet by chance in a restaurant and discover they are birthday twins. A few days later, they meet again. Alex is a podcaster, and Josie persuades her to feature her on her new series. She is, she tells Alex, on the cusp of great changes in her life. Alex agrees to do a trial interview with Josie. Josie's past appears to be strange and complicated, but although Alex finds her unsettling, she can't quite resist the temptation to keep digging and to keep recording. It soon becomes apparent that Josie has been hiding some very dark secrets, and before Alex knows it, Josie has unveiled her way into Alex's life and into her home. Ooh, that sounds good. Yeah, I generally like Lisa Jewell books, so I'm excited to give this one a go. It sounds like it might be a good summer read. What do you think? Next up, we have 2 children's books that I've picked up recently, and these, I would say, are either children's books or middle grade books. I'm not an expert on these things, so I'm not sure. But the first one I have is Pippi Longstocking, and this is by Astrid Lindgren. Quite a well-known book, a classic. And I was with a friend having coffee in a bookshop, and she saw this copy and suggested, oh, why don't you pick that up? And I just thought it was such a cool design. It's got lots of fun pictures in it. And I was then talking to my mom, and she said that my grandma, when she used to look after me after, while my mom was working or at school, my grandma would take me to the public library, and I always wanted to read Pippi Longstocking, but I never wanted to borrow the book. I just wanted to sit on the floor and read Pippi Longstocking. I don't remember anything about this book, so I'm excited to get to this one as soon as I can. And another, I think, middle grade book that I picked up is The Last Bear, and this is by Hannah Gold. I saw this a few years ago on Instagram, and yeah, kind of just dotted around, and I think the illustration on the cover definitely drew me in. But just tell you a little bit about this book. So it says, there are no polar bears left on Bear Island. That's what April's father tells her when his research takes them to an Arctic outpost for 6 months. But one night, April catches a glimpse of something distinctly bear-shaped loping across the horizon. A polar bear who shouldn't be here, who's hungry, lonely, and a long way from home. A bear who's missing something, just like April. As their unlikely bond grows, April is determined to save her new friend, and so begins the most important journey of her life. This is apparently a debut book by Hannah Gold, and I just thought, as I mentioned, the cover drew me in, but also polar bears are in Canada. It's set in the Arctic. My dad worked in the Arctic, so there was lots of themes there that intrigued me. So hopefully I'll get to this one. either in May or June. And yeah, it's a middle grade book, so like look at that font. Hopefully I'll be able to get through it fairly quickly. Up next, we have 4 books that my father-in-law gave me after he read them. So we have Noughts and Crosses by Malorie Blackman. And again, I think I've mentioned this several times on my channel, but my father-in-law is working his way through like notable works of fiction, like top books to read in your lifetime sort of thing. And so this one, I don't know anything about this. So it says, Callum is a Nought, an inferior white citizen in a society controlled by black crosses. Sephi is a cross and the daughter of one of the most powerful, ruthless men in the country. In their hostile, violent world, Noughts and Crosses simply don't mix. But when Sephi and Callum's childhood friendship grows into passionate love, they're determined to find a way to be together. So it sounds like it's got romance, and I think this is classified as dystopian. But yeah, I'm kind of excited to go in blind. If you've read this, let me know your thoughts. Is it a great book or a sort of a so-so book? Let me know. Next up, we have Midnight Children by Salman Rushdie. So obviously he's been in the press a fair amount because of the attack on him. But again, this is another book that I know nothing about. I haven't read anything by Salman Rushdie. And this says, so it's set just before India's independence in 1947. And there's a character named Salim that has telepathic powers that connects him to 1,000 other Midnight's children, all born in this initial hour of India's independence, and an uncanny sense of smell that allows him to sniff out dangers others cannot perceive. And so I guess it's linked to sort of ideas of nationalism and identity. It sounds intriguing. I'm always interested to read sort of historical fiction, and this sounds like it might have magical realism in it, which is hit and miss with me, but I'm always willing to give it a go. This is quite long. It's over 600 pages. To be perfectly honest, I'm probably not going to get to this one for quite some time, but you never know. The mood might strike me and I might pick it up this year. But yes, if you've read this, again, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And the next book we have is another Murakami. So this is Norwegian Wood. I mentioned on I think it was my winter book haul, that my father-in-law had also given me A Sheep Chase, something like that by Murakami, which I haven't got to yet, but now I also have Norwegian Wood. Again, I haven't read anything by Murakami. I don't know if it's going to be my cup of tea, but maybe I'll get to it this year, maybe I won't. Are you a fan of Murakami? If yes, let me know in the comments, and if no, let me know in the comments as well. I'm always curious because I think this author might be a little bit divisive. The last book that my father-in-law gave to me to read is a David Mitchell non-fiction book, a history book called Unruly, A History of England's Kings and Queens. Now, I love a good book about kings and queens, and I also really like David Mitchell, as in the comedian. It takes his cover on the back. This guy, this David Mitchell. There is another David Mitchell who is an author of fantasy. That's a different person. But yeah, so this says, time is as crucial as place. You can stand in the same place, and depending on the time, you might find yourself on your own in the mud, run through by a Norman knight, praying for a king's soul, being made redundant by another king, having a nice pint, or buying a nasty coffee. When the Battle of Hastings happened, the town of Battle didn't yet exist, so they named the battle after Hastings, which did. Otherwise, it would have been called the Battle of Battle. That's convoluted. Except it wouldn't, because if Battle had existed before the battle happened, it wouldn't have been called Battle. It was named Battle after the battle. Whoa, okay, that didn't really tell me too much about what it's about, but oh, that's silly me. I was reading just an excerpt, but okay, it says, in Unruly, David Mitchell explores how England's monarchs, while acting as feared rulers firmly guiding their subjects' destinies, were in reality a bunch of lucky sods who were mostly as silly and weird in real life as they appear today in their portraits. Yeah, so this sounds like exactly something I'd like to read. And look at those end papers. Isn't that beautiful with the medieval illustrations there. So yeah, I'm really excited to get to this one. I don't generally read general history books. I tend to read more academic books, which I don't do very much anymore. So yeah, I'm excited to try this. It'll be a little bit of a departure from the norm for me. And lastly, I've got two books that I actually just picked up yesterday. I had a little brain break from work and I went to my local Oxfam bookshop and I picked up two fiction books. So the first one, I should say both of these have been on my TBR for quite some time. So the first one is Miss Benson's Beetle by Rachel Joyce. I've seen this one around. It was published a while ago. When was it published? It was published in 2020, yeah, so it's 4 years old. But this is an historical fiction book, and it's set in 1950, and it's got Marjorie Benson. So she leaves her job and she advertises for an assistant to join her to go on travels to look for Beetle. And Enid is the assistant, and she's a bit of an unlikely companion for Marjorie. And yeah, together they go on an adventure, and it's like a journey of self-discovery. It sounds like a pretty lighthearted book. But yeah, I think not particularly this edition, but the original hardcover. Maybe I can pop a picture up, but it was definitely the cover that drew me into this one. So I'm excited to get to this soon. And the very last book that's on my spring book haul is Memoirs of a Geisha by Arthur Golden. Golden? Yeah, Golden. This is quite a well-known book again. I think I saw the film adaptation many years ago, but I can't honestly remember, and even if I did, I don't remember anything about it. But this is exactly what the title implies. It's memoirs about a woman who was a geisha. And just looking at the inside cover, it says that it's from 1929 to the post-war era in Japan. So that was obviously quite an important time of change in Japan. And it looks at the hidden world of eroticism and enchantment, exploitation and degradation. So this sounds like it's going to be, well, I hope it's going to be a sort of feminist perspective, because that's always more so what I enjoy reading. But yes, as this is a fairly well-known book, have you read it? If so, what did you like about it, or what did you not like about it? Without spoiling, let me know in the comments below. So there you have it, 12 books that I've acquired this spring, probably from late February all the way up to early May. Again, I've mentioned before, I'm really trying to be selective, let's say, or moderate in my acquisition of books. I was supposed to be on a book buying ban this year, but that hasn't gone according to plan at all. And that's okay. I'm accepting that goal will not be met this year. I'd love to know if you've bought or acquired any books recently. Please feel free to share the ones you're most excited to read in the comments with me. And yeah, if any of these ones happen to be on your recently acquired TBR, then I'd love to know about that as well. And that just leaves me to say that I hope you're all doing really well, and I hope you have a great reading month in May, and I'll see you soon in a new video. Take care.